All right. What is up, traders? What's up, tycoons? NVIDIA reported earnings today, and no surprise, they beat. Now, we will go over NVIDIA's chart, break through it. Everything was pointing bullish here, but we all know that earnings is a binary event. Very tough to really bet against NVIDIA, and we are seeing it up at $1,000 post-market. And also they announced a stock split. But let's talk about TLT, okay? Let's talk about bonds, and let's talk about some of the broader markets. We'll break down all of the TLT charts, all right? The inverse bump and run pattern is still working, still in effect. We'll take a look at a weekly time frame, and really I've just got a lot of different charts here to share with you guys that I've been sharing with people in the Discord, right? We had the cup and handle on TLT. We had this chart right here. Basically, I was saying, before we approached this trend line and broke out of it, that, hey, this time really could be different, right? And we take a look, there's so many different charts here. We'll break down this false breakdown here. Of course, we're going to take a look at treasury yields because you need to pay attention to treasury yields, especially if you're trying to trade something like bonds, right? We'll go over a line chart and a candlestick chart here. And then we'll talk about the S&P 500. In the Discord, we broke down the key level that we're bullish above, basically 517.50. You can see here, as soon as we got above there, we've been going straight up, making new all-time highs on the SPY. And volatility is something that people need to pay attention to right now. We'll take a look at the VIX, but in my opinion, more importantly, the VVIX. And another one that you guys can start paying attention to is the SVIX, all right? These are all things that I'm really watching currently at the moment in the market, and today's video is going to be really good. As always, though, the content provided on the channel is for informational and educational purposes only. It's not intended to be relied upon as legal, financial, or investment advice, so be sure to read through the disclaimer. And if you're new to the channel, I started a completely free newsletter called Investment Intelligence, giving out free, valuable finance and trading content. All right, I also try to sprinkle in some free trade ideas in there. I've got one coming out tonight. And I try to publish them on Wednesdays and Sundays now is going to be the schedule. There is a website associated with it. You can go check out the website. Remember, that's all completely free, and read some of the previous articles that have been published. And you can join the Investment Intelligence Discord right now for just $1. Okay, now promo code May24 will get you in for just $1. And that's ending at the end of May. And the whole reason we're doing that promo is because I'm doing some changes to the Discord, and I'm going to be implementing a lot of new things. And if you join now before the official launch and before I launch these new products, you'll be grandfathered in, and you'll get all of that stuff essentially included just for the monthly fee of the Discord, right? So, you really need to join right now, I think, while you can. Now let's get into NVIDIA, okay? NVIDIA here, this is a bullish pattern that I want you guys to start recognizing, okay? And all it is simply a base. You have an area of overhead supply, you have some prior resistance, all right? And when you see the stock just trading sideways and coming back up to those levels, remember, we are in a bull market, regardless of what people tell you and what their opinions are on the economy. You have to trade the charts in front of you. And right now, we're still in a bull market. The S&P 500 is making new all-time highs. So this is a very simple and easy to recognize bull market pattern. You see some sideways consolidation forming a base. Now, some of these bases are large, right? And what I mean by that is they're multi-year bases, okay? And some of these are multi-month bases. Some of them are multi-day bases, right? Depending on what time frame of trader you are. This is a multi-month base. I started in March. We're now, towards the end of May here. So a couple months here, right? 2-3 months of a base. And we saw the breakout today. Oftentimes, certain catalysts will be the base. Another popular indicator that I want you guys to start using is the anchored VWAP. All right. Now, you want to anchor them to important dates, important price action, and different things like that. So in this case, we anchored a VWAP. Remember, the VWAP is your volume weighted average price. So an easy way to think of this is if you're above the VWAP, this means that bulls are in control of the price action. If you're below a VWAP, this means that bears are in control of the price action, right? And we anchored it to the previous all-time high. So we want to know, where's the average buyer and seller at? Are they underwater? Are they in profits? According if they've been dollar cost averaging from the previous all-time highs. And you can see back in here in the beginning of May, as soon as we flipped that anchored VWAP to support, you see we gapped up, we opened above it, and we held that line. We came back and retested it a couple times, but ever since then, the bulls have been in control, and it's been showing bullish sentiment and bullish bias on NVIDIA. And of course, Sorry about that. Earnings is pushing us up higher today. Now let's get into the juice of today's video, TLT, right? I know everyone's concerned about NVIDIA. Everybody just wants to talk about NVIDIA, but to me, there's still plenty of great opportunities in the market. TLT has been one of those. Now, I already closed some long positions in TLT. We traded the initial inverse bump and run. There were many, many signals, and I'm going to give you guys the main signals to pay attention to when it comes to TLT right now in today's video. So if you appreciate that, smash the like button. The MACD is the one you want to pay attention to, okay? Back when the MACD was curling over here, where, I've mentioned many times, for years now on the YouTube channel, that the daily MACD is going to be a really great buy and sell signal for TLT, okay? You see when we get the crossover here, the white line crosses the red line, we have a sell-off. Over here, crosses above, we start to rally. Over here, crosses below, we start a sell-off. And I'm watching this, right, as we're building this base. Remember, I told you the part pattern that I want you guys to recognize. So here's resistance, right? 89.50 essentially. And I've been mentioning this and posting these charts in the Discord, guys. So get in while you can for $1 because I'm posting every single day in there, right? And I post 20 plus swing trade ideas every single week. So if you really enjoy the analysis in these videos, you're really going to love the Discord because you're going to get so much more than what you get from the YouTube videos. Now, an inverse bump and run pattern is indicated by a prevailing trend, right? So here we have a prevailing downtrend, and then we have this aggressive bump down in price, right? So now I know that, hey, we have the setup, right? We have the inverse bump and run setup here. What do I notice next, right? Oh, well, we're starting to form a base. The MACD is curling. We get that MACD crossover right here, and it's been a very, very good trade, right? We had over 300% on the call options on TLT. Now, my main level I'm looking at essentially is 92, right? Let's call it 92.25, 92.25. Above there, we're going to be bullish, okay? So right now, I'm watching, okay? I'm someone who likes to buy into strength and buy into breakouts in a bull market. Bonds are still in their bear market for the past 3 or 4 years, but we're looking to see some potential changes, right? And this is one of the charts that I'm watching. Now, we also had the RSI can also provide you some really good signals, right? We had some bullish divergences that we got a couple dead cat bounces on, but ultimately, when we broke through here, we were using this also as a signal along with the MACD crossing down to the downside as a short, right? And we shorted TLT, took some profits on there. And again, we built the base, had the inverse bump and run. And I noticed that actually we were trying to reclaim this level, right? And I said, hey, well, maybe we can reclaim this level. Maybe we can get our MACD crossover and maybe we can break out above 89.50. You start to add a lot of these signals, a lot of these different conditions that you're looking for. And it really paints a clear picture for TLT. It's not going to give you something to trade necessarily every single day, but with option contracts expiring multiple times a week now in TLT, if you're very confident about a short-term move, you can leverage the option contracts to really make some amazing gains potentially, right? If you are correct about the move. Of course, there's always lots of risk trading options. Now, as I mentioned, we reclaimed that level here, broke, retested it, pushed up higher. Then I noticed we had this wall, right? We had a couple false breakouts, right? Little oops, right? Where the bulls got a little bit too ahead of themselves and we ended up selling off here and selling off here. All right, but it was resistance over here, resistance over here. And now I was looking, hey, well, if we can break out above here and hold this level, that's going to be a good sign for the bulls. And sure enough, look at where we bounced at, guys. We bounced right off of that RSI level. So I'm seeing a lot of hidden signals, right, between the RSI, between this initial inverse bump and run pattern. And now I'm looking to see, can we break out above 92.25? But there's many different ways you can chart this. If we go to a weekly time frame, we put an anchored VWAP to the lows, right? So now we're anchoring to the lows. Look at where we keep rejecting. Remember, we talked about how when you're above these anchored VWAPs, it lets you know who's in control of the price action. Right now, at the moment, the bears are still in control, right? The bears are still in profit. The average seller is in profit, but we're basically at break even right here. And notice how well this aligns with so many different technicals at the moment, right? This is so many things lining up. You have a zone right here, old support becoming new overhead supply. We have the anchored VWAP, and we also have our 38.2% Fibonacci. Now, this is directly at 92.39. Okay, so, that 92.25 level is right around where I'm looking at, right? That's basically this anchored VWAP right here. And ultimately above 92.39, if you want to get super technical with it, We're looking for a breakout. We're looking for a move back up to 95.50. That's going to be our 61.8% Fibonacci. That will be your next target, right? If we were to draw a little box here for a zone of potential overhead supply, it would look a little bit something like this, right? This will be our next overhead supply zone into this area here, is what we're looking for. So right now, that's really all I'm watching, right? Can we hold 92? Can we start to break above 92, 92 and a quarter, 92.39? That's going to be my potential next trade on TLT for some longs, right? If we continue to reject here, I mean, from a technical standpoint, if you're looking to have a short, there's a very good risk to reward ratio here, right? You can set a stop loss if you want to short TLT, slightly above this 92.39, right? Maybe 92.50, 92.75. And you're only risking about $1 on the stock to potentially retest some of these potential lows. But to me, a lot of things point bullish. And one of them, after we get through this chart, this is the cup and handle we had here. And look at these trend lines, right? They are very symmetrical, work out very nicely, right? Old support, new resistance, we break out, we got that follow through, right? We got the cup and handle breakout. I posted this chart in the Discord about a week or two ago. And then this one here, a lot of signals to me tell me that, hey, something could be changing perhaps in the bond market. And we're going to see, is this a false breakout, right? Is this a little bit of an oops? False moves lead to fast moves. If we fall back below this trend line, it's really going to suggest that TLT could potentially retest the lows, right? Its most recent lows below 88. So I'll be watching this closely, but above this trend line here, I'm overall bullish on TLT, just waiting on the next potential entry, right? This is another one here. And this kind of shows the oops, right? This is something that I wrote about recently in the newsletter. It's something I'm calling the plumber's pivot. And it's basically a false move, okay? False moves lead to fast moves. It's a quote that I want you guys to get used to and really start to, put in your brain, right? False moves lead to fast moves, right? And we see old resistance, new support, new support. We broke through there, but look at this. We had a nice little scoop and score, right? We scooped underneath it, retested that level twice, and we have had a strong move, right? So you see this false breakdown here, this oops, led to a really fast move from 87 up to about 92 bucks in the TLT. But when you look at treasuries, right, and this is an Elliott wave analysis here, we're not going to dive too much into Elliott wave and try to confuse you guys, but we had a strong wave one up, wave two, wave three topped out basically like 2 basis points away from our target. So very, very clean here. And we're expecting a move down, a retracement, and then continuation. And things are looking very, very well as far as the Elliott wave tracking. Okay, so if we're in wave 4 right now, wave 4 should consist typically of an ABC correction, right? And an A down, a B up, and then a C down. And your wave A should be a 5-wave move. We had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. And then wave B should be an ABC. We had an ABC, right? Your correction in the overall trend, right? Which in this case is wave 4. And now it appears that we're somewhere in wave 1, potentially in wave 2 after the short bounce here that we've seen in treasury yields. Ultimately, looking for treasury yields to come back down to retest 3.784, potentially drop as low as about 3.25. Okay, so if yields are going to follow this analysis, yields dropping is going to send bonds higher, right? It's going to send TLT higher. And when you look at these, I mean, there's also some very clear chart patterns, right? Even when you look at a candlestick, we had a cup and handle here. I posted on the channel for you guys, very strong breakout. We came up right to our main level here, which was 4.7. We wicked above it just barely. And then what did we do? We formed a topping pattern, right? So we had a cup and handle here, and then an inverse cup and handle here. We got the flush and follow through. And now we're starting to see a little bit of a bounce in these treasury yields. Will they stay below 4.53? That's the big question. If they stay below 4.53, ultimately we're looking for 4.25, and then 4.0. Is going to be the next, kind of supportish levels in the treasury yields. Now, when it goes to the SPY, guys, we were in this consolidation zone between 517 and 510. And to me, I was waiting for the move, right? What's going to happen here? What is the move? Are we breaking out above? Above there, we're bullish. If we're breaking down below, we're bearish. And you can see we ended up breaking out above. And since then, we've been going up, right? Now, there's been a couple red days in there, and there's been some selling in between. But overall, the main primary trend has been bullish, and we're making new all-time highs. The target here is 533 essentially. 533, 537, 543, and then 574. Now, something that I want to bring to your attention, in my opinion, on the market is that we're going to close somewhere around 5% higher than where we're at currently right now. So 543 is going to give you guys about 2.3% to the upside from our previous all-time highs, right? About 2% upside. So, if you're a longer term investor, I do think, and when I say longer term, maybe not investor, but trader, 543 is really my price target, kind of right around there for the end of the year. And if we're able to hold above 543, above 543, the next Fibonacci level here is going to be 574. So, I'm watching 543 as, a potential area where, the market could try to top out, but above there, we've really got some legs and we've really got some room. So for right now, I'm paying a lot more attention to some of the shorter term levels that I mentioned, 533, 537. We'll see where the market is tomorrow after these NVIDIA earnings. We've got more, economic data dropping here later this week. Back to the anchored VWAPs, right? You can see here, we anchored a VWAP to the previous all-time high. You can see here in the beginning of May, just like NVIDIA, we got above there. And ever since we've been above that anchored VWAP, look at how strong the primary trend has been up, right? The average buyer is now in control. We talked about false moves lead to fast moves. That's exactly what we saw here in the S&P 500. We have the year-to-date anchored VWAP, okay? So we anchor a volume weighted average price to the first trading day of the year. And what do, right? We dip down below here. And then what do we see? We see a very strong move, right? We see a fast move, right? We have this false breakdown, and then we saw a very fast move to the upside. Same thing here, right? We had the false move down below and then a very fast move, right? Guys, we went from below 500 to making new all-time highs in the S&P 500 very, very quickly. Very strong moves. There's a lot you can learn from these videos and these things that I'm telling you guys. And I've shown this chart here before. The VIX below 1529, right? Which, not to get super technical, right? You can basically just call it 15. Below 15 is bullish territory for stocks. You're looking for bullish setups and bullish opportunities below 15, right? And this is the zone. Now, but what I do want to mention is that you have to pay attention to the RSI, and you want to pay attention to these bullish divergences, right? A bullish divergence is simply when price is going lower and the RSI is going higher. And that's something that we do have currently at the moment, right? We're making a low, higher low here, and the VIX is making a low, lower low, lower low. So, we do have a little bit of a bullish divergence right here. But one of the biggest things you want to keep in mind is you don't want to short a quiet market, right? And, if you try to look at the stock market right now, we've already got the last CPI report. We've already got a lot of the economic data. And today we had the FOMC minutes, and we did see a drop in the stock market today. But that dip ended up getting bought up, right? And the market is up after hours due to the NVIDIA earnings. So right now, what I'm looking is I'm saying, hey, there's a setup for volatility to increase, but we're still very low, right? We're at like a 12 VIX, sub 12 VIX. If we're above 15, maybe then I'm going to start looking at some potential bearish trade opportunities. But keep in mind the overall trends, guys. We're in a bull market. This is not something you want to be shorting, in my opinion, right? Now, the VVIX, this is the volatility of the VIX, right? Volatility of the volatility index. This one oftentimes give you clues, and it, to me, is a little bit more, worthy of your attention necessarily than just the average VIX. We do see the volatility of the volatility index already peaking. Not peaking, but showing signs of a bottoming, right? This is still in a downtrend. This has already hit a low and is starting to rise, right? So the market essentially is starting to price in some volatility. And as soon as we get that catalyst, whatever it is, most likely you're going to see a spike in the VIX, and the VVIX is telling you that. But right now, what we're seeing is that we're still in bullish territory overall for the stock market, right? So there might be some type of catalyst that spikes a little bit of volatility in the market, maybe causes a temporary sell-off. But it's not nothing necessarily to be overly concerned of, right? And the SFIX, which is your short VIX futures ETF, this is another one you can look at it, right? And another metric. And we got very close to hitting the bullish price target here. We actually saw a red candle here today. Okay, so remember, this is the short VIX. So if we're seeing red here, that's kind of long VIX, right? So we're seeing a little bit of signs of long VIX, long volatility in the SVIX. We're seeing a little bit of signs of volatility increasing in the VVIX, but we're not seeing that, follow through in the actual volatility index itself. But when you look at the clues, right, what do we have? Bullish divergence, right? We've seen that bullish divergence play out over here. We've seen it over here play out. We've seen it over here play out. We've seen it many times play out. So the setup is there for a potential sell-off or a potential spike in volatility. So be ready for that, right? Be prepared for that, and don't be shocked because you have all of the warning signs, right? You have the bullish divergence on the VIX, you have the VVIX already starting to rise, and you have the SVIX already starting to decline. So when you start to break things down below the surface, you can see some of these different signals. Now, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, you're really going to enjoy the content in the newsletter. Sign up for that. It's completely free. Use that link in the description and sign up for the Discord right now while you can get in using that promo code May24. I've got a lot of changes. I've got so many different packages coming in. And if you join now before the end of May, you'll be grandfathered in and have full access to all of those versus the people that join after May. Are going to have to pay a separate fee to get some of these different packages and different things like that. So that's going to wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed the analysis and you ever want to book a one-on-one session, I do coaching and training and these one-on-one sessions all of the time. You can book those directly through my Ko-Fi page using the link in the description. There's also this really cool buy a coffee button, basically a way to leave a tip or donation for the free valuable content I put out there. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.